I am at the International Rose Test Garden with Rachel, the curator. And you know, Rachel, it's March and we really can still do our roses, still prune them.
Yeah, absolutely. There's still plenty of time. I know usually we hear President's Day,
right?
But you know, like you said, it's March, and you know it's still fine. And even though there's new growth, there's no problem. We can cut that off because the most important thing is we want to control the height, make sure those canes are nice and healthy, so they can support the blooms later. You know, you have a whole season to go, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
So this is a really nice shrub. I would think it's done, but really you're going to take more out.
Yes, absolutely. So this has been wind pruned. So back in November, we actually cut it to our waist.
Okay.
And basically that is to kind of minimize that wind and all that winter weather that we have.
Okay.
And so, but we're not done. Okay, now it's spring. Now we're going to do spring pruning.
All right.
And the reason why we wait to do spring pruning and not do it all in November is because there's always that potential for frost damage.
Oh, okay.
So you can tell it's frost if the tips are black. And so if that were to happen after we spring pruned in November, then we have to go down even further.
Oh, sure.
So it's better just to wait and do 2 prunings.
Oh, okay.
But you know, usually, you know, I think we're, you know, knock on wood.
Done with winter, maybe.
Done with winter, at least the frost potential.
Parts, right.
So now it's time to spring prune.
All right.
Okay, so now we have a lot of things. The first thing I would do is take out anything that is thinner than a pencil.
Okay.
So, and you know what? I'm going to kind of go back and forth between loppers.
I can hold
Okay,
those.
there we go. All right. So anything that's thinner than a pencil, and anything that's brown, if it's brown, take it down.
Okay.
So we have one that's both brown and small, so I'm going to take those out first. And I would recommend taking out the small and thin stuff first, because then it opens it up and you can kind of do your...
And see what's going on.
Yeah, you can see more for your detailed pruning. And that's brown, we'll cut that, and that's thinner than a pencil. So we're just taking out a lot of dead wood.
So
And
there's something that's really big in the center.
yeah, so
old.
yeah, that's brown, that's old. So basically roses bloom, excuse me, on nicer, newer wood. So you see this nice green cane, it's nice and healthy, it's very, very thick. That's the type of cane we want to promote.
Keep. Okay.
So we see anything that's older, maybe maybe about 3 years old, we want to cut that out, and so we can put more energy into the nice
new
ones.
Canes. Okay.
So here's potential. It looks big, and you know it does have this new stuff coming out, but ultimately we want to promote more energy.
So you're looking too for the future.
We are looking for the future. Absolutely, that's a great way of putting it.
Rachel, you just took out a really big section in the center that was old, but it had some potential bloom power on it, and so people are afraid to do that. So explain why that was such a great idea.
As I was saying with the energy, we want to promote these nice newer canes, so by taking out the big ones, that allows more energy to go into the new stuff. So I welcome, you know, be aggressive. You know, roses can certainly handle, you know, to be ruthless to them. And you know, I always say sometimes it's good to experiment. That's why we garden, right?
Sure,
to tinker. So maybe see the difference, like prune one aggressively and see how well it does, and then go back. So that's what I would recommend. But you can be aggressive with them, that's for sure.
Right, and all of this, it's still so early, all this foliage is just going to push again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can see how much has happened in like just a couple weeks. So,
right.
You know, come back in even a couple more weeks and it will come back with a vengeance.
And Rachel, and this other rose bush that you put over here, you finished it, and
Yes.
you really took out a lot there.
Absolutely. And so come back here in June, you'll just see how big it is, because you think about what are your goals. So here in this climate at you know, Washington Park, they get so gigantic, and as a result they flop over. So you really have to take it back pretty hard so that you can kind of control that height. But if you have a rose that maybe doesn't, you know, just genetically isn't programmed to get so high, maybe you don't want to take down all that much. So it really is about your goals. But here at Washington Park, they get big, and we're just going to, you know, we take them down pretty significantly.
Right. And then what about fertilizer? Is this the time to fertilize, or?
No, so we usually do it about mid-April, and we just, after you push up a little bit of growth, because you need that growth to support it, And we do a slow release high nitrogen fertilizer roughly about every 6 weeks. And that's how you get that nice green foliage, and it's beautiful because it's not just about the blooms, it's also about the foliage.
Oh, definitely, definitely. And really, you have to come out and see the roses here. If you haven't been for a couple of years, there's always things going on. Rachel and her crew and all the volunteers do an amazing job. So please come out to the Washington Park, to the International Rose Test Garden, and see all the beautiful roses, but do yours at home too. Rachel, thanks so much.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.